So I think the way I want to do this is like kind of talk about the spiritual aspect of my life, you know what I mean? Because I think that when you can kind of, I mean, this is for stuff where people have traumas. So I'm going to tell you a funny story when we just had, if you listen to the last video, you'll hear how we came to California and what we looked like. And at that time, it was like 1980 when Mount St. Helens erupted. So, like, all the dates are, I might get off here and there when I keep talking about this stuff, but it's the message behind it is what's important. So, we came here, we pulled into Oceanside, and at some point we had lived here. I don't ever remember that. Where I was like a baby for a couple months or something like that. But when people that know Oceanside, California at that time, there was, when you went down to the beach, there was one lane and it was one way in, and you drove like a strand, and then there was only one way out, and it was a big incline. And for whatever reason, 10 years earlier when my parents had came here, they had stayed at those pink cottages. There's used to be these little, like, 20 of them, little, like, one bedroom things that are right on the beach. So when we were driving up there in that, they were like talking about that we were going to go there. And they were saying, like, oh, it's nice, and there's a beach right there, and there's these really pretty little pink cottages, and we stayed there once. And meanwhile, now, we didn't stay in any hotels from that trip from Oregon to California. We stayed in rest areas, and rest areas played an important part of my life because every time that we had to move somewhere, we never stayed in a hotel. I don't think we ever stayed in a hotel. We stayed in a rest area. So you had to get cleaned up in a rest area. And you had to, I mean, you're basically living, we were just always in rest areas. And some of them were pretty, when we would take those long rides from where we were to back to Kentucky, we would always be stopping at rest areas, and some of them were actually kind of cool. They were like little parks and stuff. So, as a kid growing up, I didn't see them, as if we had to like live in rest areas and stuff. It was like you get to go to a different park every day. So when I talk about some of this stuff, it's like, I don't know if that's just how I dealt with it. And maybe that was the only way to deal with it. But I didn't see it as that. But it also, maybe in me dealing with it that way, I did, um, I was embarrassed. I never lied about it, but I didn't like to talk about it. Let's put it that way. I don't think I wouldn't lie about that stuff, but it wasn't something that I would bring up. But it's a weird thing because when I would see those things, I would have sometimes fond memories. I mean, when you're always driving in a packed car, it wasn't like, you're towing something. So if we were doing that, like everybody, you had some shit on you. And plus, the cars back then, I always had to sit on someone's lap because I was the baby. And then no one wanted me to sit on their lap. Everybody said I had a bony ass. And then if I had to sit on my brother's lap, he would pinch me, and he would do, so I always like either sat in the middle or I was sitting on my mom's seat, on my mom's lap. So that's what what traveling was like in the Lennon household. So, anyways, we're coming up here, and I remember them talking about that and thinking like, "Oh, this is gonna be cool. Like we've been in all these restaurants, and we're gonna see this pink cottages." And we pull in, and I think it was in the summer, so it had to be somewhere from like June, July, August. I don't remember exactly when, but it was after Mount St. Helens erupted. But we pull in the middle of the day. It was like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and the beach was packed. I mean, packed. And we, people from Oregon, don't get tans. We are white. I mean, white. And we stick out like sore thumbs. Plus the fact that I would think I was wearing like PE shorts with tube socks pulled up to my knees, and PE shorts and white. So we're driving along. We go down the hill, and then we're driving along there, and it's in the middle of the summer, and it's packed. There's nothing, nowhere to stay. Not one of those cottages are empty. So we have to leave, and everybody's looking. There's a 56 Ford pickup loaded down with a rocking chair on top, pulling a trailer, and you know that shit is in that side of that trailer. Like it's not. You know that we weren't there for the weekend camping. You just know it. Okay. So we're driving out of there, and that hill is so steep, and that poor truck, because it wasn't like my dad would rebuild engines and shit, though he was very mechanically, but he would not redo something. He would fix the thing that broke, but if something else didn't break, it wasn't getting fixed. So it was a 1956 Ford pickup with a straight six, three on the tree, and it's clutch, and the clutch goes out in the middle of that hill going up it, and we were almost to the top, and my sisters and my mom were behind us, but it's a pretty good distance, but it's a pretty steep hill, and the clutch goes out, and it's smoking, and it's, I mean, when a clutch is burning like that, it's smoking like the car's on fire, and it's smoking, and all these people in sunny California all have these beautiful suntans, girls in bikinis. We're starting to draw a crowd because they're like, what the fuck is going on here? We're blocking the way out of there. So therefore, all these cars, now this is a strip where people drive down, everybody's in their convertibles, they're looking at the girls on the beach, and they drive down the strip and they go out the hill, and then they go and they loop it down and they do it again. Every beach area has one of those. And that truck blows the clutch, and we're stuck on the hill. My dad's holding this, but that fucking emergency brake didn't work on a 1956 Ford pickup, 1980. That shit didn't work. So my dad's holding his foot on the clutch, still trying to burn. And it's just smoking. And then I was 12 years old. I really wasn't embarrassed like in the moment, but afterwards I was. And then my sisters are in the back with the car with the plywood hood on it. My sisters are ducking down. They're in the car, they're ducking down. And I'm looking out, the old truck has that big mirror on the side. I can see them. I'm like, why are they ducking down? And then in the middle, I have my dog right there, right? And then we've been driving away. I was like, I'm gonna get out so my dog can take a walk. So I get out of the car, take out the collie, and all of a sudden I get out of the car and there's like hundreds of people going like, what the fuck are these hillbillies doing down here at the beach? Finally, somebody in a newer Chevy 4-wheel drive like came, hooked up a chain, pulled us right up, and then we had to like park right there. And there's not no parking because you're at the fucking beach in the middle of summer. So the guy like graciously like pulled us like 2 blocks at a park. There was a little park there. I've only been to that park like 2 times just because I was so fucking embarrassed. I lived there for a long time. So we pulled up there and we lived there for like 3 weeks. It was right there on the fucking curb. But it still was fun because, at night, me and my brothers and sisters, I think there was like a miniature golf place around there. Or maybe after we got it fixed, we were there for like a week because my dad had fixed it right there on the fucking curb. He was always fucking fixing cars right on the fucking curb. Transmission would be out. I feel bad for my brothers and sisters because I was so young it wasn't embarrassing, but they were always like hiding or I mean they were like teenagers at the time. But so we would go and there was like a miniature golf place and at night it was closed and we would jump over the fence and run around there and play. I mean, those are the kind of things that are, I don't know, I remember them. They were fun, but we didn't have no money. We didn't actually go there when it was open and you could get the golf clubs, but it still was fun. I don't know, maybe the breaking in part of it. I remember they had those trampolines, and me and my sister would go jumping in for a while. But so, anyways, the whole point is, you know, a lot of the things, a lot of the traumas that we've accumulated as a child, we didn't really have control of, you know, and look at people that already figured that out, then great, you didn't have those, Sometimes I think people don't have the traumas in their childhood and they accumulate them at some point. Someone that says, I had a perfect childhood, my parents are perfect and this and that. I mean, that, to me, that's like someone on social media that just everything's fake, you know. Yes, some people have good parents, some people have good everything, but at some point you're picking up some kind of trauma because, that's why there's not a child born into this world anywhere on this earth that's not perfect in their own way. But as soon as they're born, they start just, you start collecting the traumas. You know what I mean? And you could have a perfect family. There is people that can say that, but then what about everybody else? We all pick up trauma every day, and I think that trauma is like energy, and it's okay to acknowledge the trauma and let it go than to keep it in, because I believe that that's where it starts turning into diseases and starts affecting your health and how you feel. I never used to talk about any of my traumas. I would just deal with them internally, and it was literally killing me. I mean, it was like killing my soul. With that, I used to always have a smile on my face, and then there was a big portion of my life where it was just I wasn't smiling. And those are some, I don't know, I believe that, you know, there's like signposts in your life. If you can think of life in this way, that I've heard people say this, I can believe in it. So, but I'm not saying that it's something that I've thought up, but I believe in it, that we we came into this life to experience the things that we experience here. And what I'm saying is, let's say before you're going to be born to here,